Good afternoon. My name is Darlene Nowlin. I live in New York, and I am a graduate of NYU with a master's in social work. I have previously worked in clinical-based social service programs with families and children. I've also worked as an educator with middle school students. I co-authored a book called Grief to Growth with another participant in the Global Grief Conference, and I will use some reference from the book. I am currently a caregiver as well as a mental health coach student. And, what I'd like to start off in saying is that with grief, I've known grief as a social worker because I have worked with many clients and who have gone through a range of emotions with trauma and crisis. I have counseled, consoled, encouraged, and empowered many through these issues and these situations. At this point, I'm on the other side and I am receiving what I have previously provided to others. I am a caregiver at this point to my mother, who is going through the stages of dementia. And I'm happy to care for my mother. At the same time, there is grief in it. First, I don't have help. I am doing this single-handedly. And doing this single-handedly, it is really difficult. I do have siblings, but they don't help. Yes, they don't live nearby. However, when they do come and visit, the help is short-lived because they're here for a short time. And it is also grief that I have to help my mom through a situation that I can't fix. I'm a social worker, I'm an educator, and I help others all the time. However, I can't help my mom. I remember when my father was alive, he and I had a conversation, and he asked me to be there for my mother if the need ever arose. And he realized that I was taking on a huge role. He realized that most likely I would be the one that would be willing to do that. And he acknowledged that I know it's a lot, but I know you can do it. And I took on the role. And needless to say, it is difficult. However, I do have joy being there for my mother. I am happy that she's not in a facility. She's home. However, just knowing that she is going through what she's going through is very painful. The joy is one thing of being able to care for her, but the grief is that I can't do anything. I can't fix it. My siblings don't help. Right now I'm at odds with my siblings, particularly one sibling in general. I'm at odds with this sibling. We had a difference of opinion, and my sibling feels that what I'm doing is not as important as really being there for myself, and it really hurt to hear this from my sibling because we share the same parent. And yes, I miss my social life. Yes, I am overwhelmed a lot of times. Yes, I'm sad a lot of times. It is hard to see the person that raised you in such a situation. So it is very painful. However, to be spoken to so harshly by my sibling who is not offering any help, that really was surprising because normally this particular sibling is not like that. And then secondly, it just felt that this sibling wouldn't do what I was doing. So it's also a little frightening as well. And I just couldn't believe that these were the feelings that a sibling has who we share the same parent. And it grieves me to know that I'm at odds with my siblings in a time when I really need them the most. And that's really a grief. And so it coupled with seeing my mother the way she is, and then my siblings and I really at odds. It's really hard sometimes day to day to really not have the break that I need. I don't feel I have the family support that I need. However, I do have that support from others. Yes, I attend a support group. I have friends one friend in particular is a grief worker, and very supported by that particular friend. In any event, sometimes even my mom will, I would say, speak to me very harshly, and it really hurts. I feel that I'm doing the best I can with her and for her. And sometimes I do expect her to really acknowledge that I'm there for her. No, I don't want to meddle because this is my mom. And I feel that with my family values, this is what I should be doing. It was done for me. I can't repay my mother no matter what I do, but it's just that I would rather care for my mother rather than someone else. And I feel that I would provide better care. She's not a paycheck to me. She's my mother, and I have emotional feelings, and I love her. And so I'm going to provide the best care. In any event, sometimes my mother will say to me that I'm not helping her and that she does not know why I'm home. And it really hurts to hear that. In any event, I do realize that my mother has her own set of grief. It has to be difficult to not be able to recall when you were able to do that before. She has to be frightened. She has to be frustrated. And I'm quite sure she's feeling a lot of that. And because I'm around, I get that anger, and which then honestly turns into my own grief. I think also I have grief, and I realize I have that grief. And I think my mother's grief and my grief really clash. I think, if anything, we're feeding off each other. I do feel overwhelmed because of the caregiving. I feel overwhelmed when she says things like that to me. I feel terrible when knowing that my siblings are not helping. And then worst of all, I can't fix what's going on with my mother. And so I really think we are both feeling grief at the same time. And it's just really too much. And what I think about the most, and I'm referencing the book, is I'm taking some words from the book. And I think about fear. I think about dementia, which progresses. It doesn't get any better. And I think about that and I say, wow, I know what's going on now, but I don't know what's going to go on in the future. I don't know how my mom is going to be. And that is a fear for me. I don't know what will lie ahead. And yes, I've read about the stages of dementia and what happens as things progress. And yes, I have seen my mother's progression. However, she still has certain capabilities. My mother is able to take care of her personal hygiene. She can feed herself. She still cooks sometimes. She can still do laundry. Really, my mother at this point, it's her memory that's really not where it was. She does have her good and bad days. However, she is capable of taking care of herself. In any event, I wonder what lies ahead, and I don't know. And that's fearful for me. And my grief in that is that I can't do anything about it. I have to allow this progression to take place. I can't stop any stage or anything from happening. I couldn't stop it from coming on. So I can't stop at midpoint either. And it's really very frightening for me to wonder, well, what lies ahead? I also wonder, will I be able to physically and emotionally care for her? I'm getting older myself. As I've mentioned previously, I don't have anyone helping me. And I do feel tired. It has been now going on 11 years. And no, she didn't have dementia in all of those years. However, I stepped into my father's shoes when he passed. So I'm really helping and doing what my father was doing. And at one point, my mother was able to do certain things that she's not able to do. We were both at one point running the household and doing what needed to be done. And I would say 5 years into this journey, my mom was not able to do certain things. And that's when I noticed that she was just not herself anymore. And my topic is my journey in caregiving. And my title is Challenges and Grief in Caregiving. And I remember when I noticed my mom's behavior changing. She would do things that she didn't do before. I remember one evening I came home from work and the oven was on and my mother was nowhere to be found. And I couldn't understand that. So I felt maybe she's in the home, she's in the house someplace, but because she would never go out and leave the oven on. And I called to my mom and she didn't respond. And I come to find out she wasn't home. And I thought that was very odd. And I noticed things here and there that she was doing. That's one thing. I noticed other things that she was doing that just, she wasn't herself. And I decided that I'm going to mention this to her doctor because something definitely is going on. This is not who she is. This is not what she does. And that's when the doctor suggested that we find out. And, we had a referral to a specialist who then did diagnose her with dementia. I remember that day that I found out. It was very difficult to go through that. And it was very difficult to fathom, like, where do I start? How did this happen? I never imagined something like that. I realized that as, someone gets older, sometimes even in your youth, people do get sick. But I never imagined and could not imagine and could not know what was going to happen. And it was really a blow. And so my journey continues. There are things that I would say, gotten better at as time went on. I've come to realize that this is how it is, and I have to just pick up the pieces and move on. But there are things that I still struggle with, and I have to learn. And I would say, knowing that I'm doing this single-handedly, I have that. However, I still struggle with, as I mentioned, what lies ahead. I am scared about that. Something else I would say is a struggle for me is, and I would reference in the book, is conflict. I have conflict in role reversal. We've had to reverse roles. And my mom is, I would say, the child, and I'm the parent at this point. And it is very difficult to be in this role reversal, particularly since there is an illness and a condition that has precipitated it. I don't feel comfortable sometimes I feel more comfortable now, but initially I didn't. Sometimes it still arises that I don't feel comfortable. And why? The grief in that is my mom is not really willing to relinquish her role as parent. I have to sometimes take the reins and do things for her that she maybe is not capable of doing as capable. She might not realize that she's not doing something the right way. And I have to watch her and I have to monitor what's going on. And she gets upset about that. So it's very difficult for my mother to relinquish the role of parent. And she'll tell me in no uncertain terms, I'm the parent. You know, I was doing this before you were born. I raised you and I don't need any help. And another grief in that is that dementia clouds her judgment. So she doesn't realize that she needs help sometimes. And these things are really grievous, but I can't change it. And I just have to try to navigate and go along with it as best I can. I would say another reference from the book is stress. It is very stressful to be a caregiver in general. However, like I said, I'm doing it single-handedly. I am working with a mom and taking care of a mom that still has capabilities. And she has the mindset that she has everything under control. It's very stressful because she does not understand that she does need the help. My grief is that I can't fix or change anything. And she'll sometimes accuse me of things because this is what happens with dementia. There's a paranoia. There is, because the memory isn't there, you place something someplace, you don't know exactly where it is, or you don't remember placing it somewhere. And I'm the person in the home, so I stole it, I broke it, I moved it, and there's no reason in logic. It's just, you did it. And her logic in that is because it's just you and I in the home, so it's you. And don't tell me it's not you. And I can't sometimes ignore her. I try to, but that's not possible. We're in the house together. If I don't answer her, she'll come and she'll say, you heard me calling you. You heard me talking to you. You know, find whatever it is she's looking for. Find, you know, my glasses or find my book or bring it back. What did you do with it? And it's really, really stressful to deal with that and to see her in such a state that she wasn't in before. And it really makes the journey sometimes very frustrating, very sad, very tiring. And I must admit, sometimes I'm very angry. I feel that my siblings feel that their lives are more important and busier than mine. And they feel that, oh, well, you know, this is what you chose. Perhaps I did. However, like as I said, particularly to one sibling, you know, this is who raised you, and this is why you're able to do what you're doing now, you know, and a little help would be nice. You know, I feel that my siblings have, particularly one sibling, full-time opinion and part-time or at no participation at all, 100% opinions and 0% participation. And it's very challenging to be in this situation. And, you know, with dementia, you have to be patient. You have to be vigilant. There's so many things that you have to do. And in the meantime, I still have to take care of myself. It's like I'm the captain of the ship. And it's like, tag, I'm it. And if something happens to me, we're both in trouble. And it's really hard to be in this situation because I'm grieving my mother, although she's still alive. You know, my mother is morphing into someone that I don't recognize. And it's like she's morphing away. She's going away from me, although she's still alive. And it's just so grievous. And sometimes I feel like I'm in the house all alone. If she's not having a good day, I might need to talk to her or might just want to talk to her. But I have to really see where she is that day. It's not always possible to say anything. It's not always possible and never possible to do anything. I could try to console her. I can try to give her a hug. I can try possibly, let's watch a television program together. Let's play a game. But if she's in a mood where cognitively she's just not there, it doesn't work. And it's really, really hard to really see the person that raised you be in such a vulnerable position. My mother was fiercely independent, and she was always strong, always the one that held everything together. And to see her falling apart, so to speak, it's really hard. It takes all out of me to not fall apart. And I don't want her to see me emotional because she's still a parent. She's still very much a parent, and she'll worry, and I don't want to worry her. She has enough to deal with as it is. In any event, when I see what I am faced with, I do realize that sometimes you're in this situation for a reason. And I really try to recognize this grief and to not let it overpower me, but to realize that perhaps there is something that I can learn from it. And I know writing the book was really helpful. I do refer to the book sometimes. I go back to the book and I read, because the book is also a journal form. And in that, there are words that are there. There are quotes that the author and myself came up with, as well as scriptures. And so the book can really be therapeutic, and it really helps to go to the book when I'm really feeling overwhelmed or when I'm feeling down. It does really help. As I said, too, the author is very, very helpful in that sense of I can go to the author and really share what's really going on. And I've learned that grief is not only through death. I'm also grieving a lot of things. Yes, my mom is still alive, as I mentioned, but I'm grieving my independence. I'm home again. And I do miss living on my own. I feel I've regressed back to adolescence. I don't really have the space that I had before. I'm in the room that I was in before I moved out, in the home that I grew up in. I'm here with my mom, who really will definitely rule with an iron fist. And it really feels like I've regressed back to adolescence sometimes. And that is it's really grief. It really grieves me sometimes to really be in that situation. And also, I don't get a reprieve. I'm really not able to take many breaks. And so my social life is like put on hold. I can take maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, but I really do have to think about getting home because I need to know what's going on with my mom. I really grieve my freedom. I grieve being able to say, go out and really just sit back and have fun and not worry about, well, I have to get home. I can't really stay out too long. And I definitely grieve being at odds with my family. I think with my mom, as I've mentioned before, she doesn't mean to lash out. My mom has always had high expectations of me. And my mom is not going to allow me to do what she feels I am anything less than what I'm capable of. And I think sometimes that's another reason where my mom's harsh words sometimes comes from. She wants me to rise to the occasion, so to speak. And if she feels I'm doing anything less, she will definitely let me know. And she'll feel that, you can do better. And I think that's where the harshness comes from also. She really has high expectations of me. And I have to sometimes see it that way, although it's very difficult to really see, as some encourage me, just see that the behavior is the dementia. It's really not mom. It is really hard because that behavior is familiar to me. It's not something that started when she got dementia. It has always been that way. And so it's hard not to personalize it. In any event, I am happy to go through my journey. And as I said, learn from as I go along, and look at the grief and see exactly how I can manage it. It's sometimes hard for a social worker to be on the other end because I was busy fixing everyone, and so to speak, and counseling everyone, as I said earlier, encouraging, empowering, consoling, and counseling. And it's sometimes hard for me to be on this end of it because I'm receiving what I provided. And it's the fixer, quote unquote, is now in that seat where I have to be fixed. As I said, I do attend support groups. I do have one-on-one sessions as well. And they are very helpful because it helps me to see that I'm not the only one. There are others in my situation. I learn from that, and I can let others know that what I'm going through, they can let me know what they're going through. And sometimes we can share what worked for them and possibly might work for me. In any event, I have to say that I really am happy to be able to take care of my mom. I really don't want her to go into a facility. My fear is that she would have to go, and I realize that might be a possibility. A grief with that is that sometimes, depending on the money that you have or don't have, the insurance that you have or don't have, you might not be able to get the services that are appropriate. And I do really think about that. I don't consider this country really senior friendly. Sometimes it's really, even though you're a senior and you're a fixed income, you really still have to pay through your nose for certain things. And I would really hope to be able to take care of her, for the duration. Also, another fear in saying accessing services is I don't know how this person will be. Sometimes you hear horror stories about people that are not that kind to people. And I know when someone comes into your home, that's your sacred space, and then you're vulnerable. So I do have a fear of someone coming in and not being that nice, that kind. And I know I do have to pray on that, and I will continue to do so. In any event, I just hope it doesn't come to that. Caring for mom is really my joy. I really get to see her every day. I thank God for that every day. When I hear her stirring in her room, I'm really happy that she has another day, and so do I. Although there are times when I'm really overwhelmed, I'm happy to have her around. And, I am happy that I was able to have that time with my mom. My mom and I had so much fun. We would, do a lot of things together and spend a lot of time together. We travel together, we'd shop together, cook together. I mean, we really had great times when she was in her better days. And the wonderful thing about that is I have that to look at. I have that to focus on and to remember. I do wish sometimes I could still do that. And there are times when I can, but it's not to the extent that it was before. She really has to really be having a better day. And, I say to that is that there was a time when I was able to pick the day. Mom, let's go away for the weekend. Mom, there's a new mall that I saw. Let's go. There's a new store. Oh, Mom, let's try this new recipe. I just had to pick the day, and she'd say, okay, let's go. But because of dementia, now I have to pick the moment. I have to know that she's up to it. I have to know that perhaps what we would do would not be traumatizing or anxiety provoking. And I have to really know that sometimes I have to have someone to accompany me. So it's not picking the day anymore. It's picking the moment. How life changes. In any event, I take each day and try to live one day at a time. I pray. My faith is something that really has kept me through this time. And I can only hope for the best. But Do I love what I'm doing? Yes. Do I grieve what I'm doing? Yes. In any event, I would like to thank you all for listening. Thank you for your time. And I thank you for allowing me to share my journey in caregiving and my challenges in caregiving, my grief and challenges in caregiving. And I thank you all. And I want you all to have a great day.